the invocation, please, sir.
I'd be glad to. Dear Father, we just thank you for your goodness and your mercy. We thank you for your Son, Jesus, Lord, and we just lift his name up because you'll draw all people unto you, and we do that, Father. And we just plead your blood over us and our county, God, that you would just expose and root out wickedness, and that you would bring justice to the oppressed in our county, Lord, and help give us wisdom and discernment on how to do what's best for the taxpayers who, that we represent, Father, and just bless our time. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Righty. Pretty short. I'd entertain a movement to approve the agenda.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. It occurs to me that I did not have a sign-up sheet here. Did anybody sign up to speak? Anybody like to speak? Okay. I think that might be the first time I've had a meeting nobody wanted to speak. The beggars are missing. All righty. So moving on to new business here. Item A, appropriations to relocate the utilities in the alleyway for the parking garage. This begins on page 2 here. I entertain a motion for approval or to discuss.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second. Okay. Who'd like to get in queue? Mr. Klein?
Yeah, just so that everybody understands what transpired here is, we're not sure who made the agreement, but at some point in the last year, there was an agreement made between GDE and it did not appear that it was Randall Coy. It appeared that it might have been Turner to do an equitable swap of work. The GDE had put in, they had moved power poles to the south side of Smith Street, East Smith Street, 2 poles, and then ran a pole on the side of our new courthouse and set a transformer. That work was somewhere around $120,000. And then when we were getting ready to build the parking structure, they set 5 new metal power poles on the north side of Franklin Street, jumped the power over there, and that's when we did all the underground work to the transformer behind. All that combined cost something over $252,000. What they wanted us to do, and they have a budget amount of $200,000 to $250,000, was run what they call the spaghetti power pole. All the overhead drops to weatherheads on the back of the east side of the square. I want to say there's 8, maybe 9 services there. They got signatures from all the owners in those who own those properties to go ahead and do it. And so the deal was basically that we do that work, which will amount to $200,000 to $250,000. That was phase 2 of the underground along the parking structure. And we would also be able to set our new vault and transformer on private property. We got permission from one of those owners to put it in his parking lot because it couldn't really work where we needed to have the crane to lift the panels. So had we known this back in October that's the first I saw that it came up, at least that we would have known about it at the county. I can't see any documentation that in the timeline that we would have known about it prior to then, unless you saw something different, Eric. But that's this, and we would have had a clear understanding of what it was. This would have kind of been a no-brainer because it's really Brandon Meredith, who's the attorney for GDE, basically said, hey, if you guys want to pay the $252,000 for the underground that you've not paid for yet, that we wanted to do in turn, go ahead, write us a check for the $252,000 and we'll put the stuff underground. And what our legal team has basically come up with is the document that's the interlocal agreement where we're asking them to just do the work and we'll give you the money.
Yeah.
So that's really, I mean, when I first found out about it, it seemed like they were asking us to do something that was completely out of the purview. But once we got the document, and we got this document like Wednesday before Friday, the meeting we had a week before this past Friday, if we'd have known all that information way back, it would not have even become an issue.
Go ahead, Mr. Mansfield. And
So-
thank you for that. Just to know that, like, you actually covered a good bit of what was relevant to all three of these bullets, and I am gonna ask our law director and our finance director, I'll get just a second, but I'm just gonna note that I'm gonna, just for the record, I'm gonna get commentary from our discussion, Mr. Sittler, and also our discussion, just to have it kind of all out there on the record for what we're planning to do, for people who wanna watch this. Mr. Mansfield.
So there was an agreement made that nobody can find for swapping work for them doing work for the. They did work elsewhere on the garage. Is that what you're saying? Like,
Yeah, in order for us to build a 5-story parking structure, all that power had to be on the other side of the street, so it's on
So
the.
they did that work ahead of time.
Yeah, well, actually, that was what delayed the starting of the parking structure, was that had not happened because we were running into problems with AT&T.
So that was, but nobody knows where that agreement was on, like, basically swapping services.
Yeah.
I was just curious, like, is it a truly apples to apples comparison on value, or are we paying more, or are they paying, like,
Well, and the only
did they do
thing,
$250,000 worth of work for us?
you know,
Is my question.
they gave us a 2-part invoice and an explanation of what everything was that they did, that totaled about $252,000. You know, at that point, we either have to believe that they're telling the truth, or that they're not telling the truth on their invoice. I'm sure they're telling the truth. The only document we had when we started down this was phase 1 and phase 2, this sheet that's got no signatures, no nothing on it, and it had some attachments to it on the back that showed the standard way to do vaults and all that. It's kind of boilerplate electrical construction stuff. So what I did ask for today, and I haven't seen yet, I emailed everybody, I believe, who was in that meeting. I would kind of like to see the contracts or the agreements or whatever it was that we were to pay for what went down on Franklin Street, the $130,000 or whatever that was, and then what happened on what is that other street, the one behind the courthouse? Smith Street. Smith Street. The work that was done there is the offset for what they're asking us to do in the alleyway. So, it seems like it's about the same amount of money, maybe a little bit less.
To do the alley, the work
To the alleyway, yeah.
That's what I was going to question.
Yeah, it's a little bit less. So, we could do it.
So I just wanted to, I only had one note here.
Mhm.
Well, actually, let's go ahead and, because I'm gonna hold mine, and I'd like to hold my request for these comments to get to the actual interlocal agreements part, because that's the part that I think, let's not have some questions, but any other discussion on the appropriation of relocation utilities in the alleyway? All right,
What he's discussing is on page 29, that's what they were asking to show.
it's the,
252, 611, and the 250 working.
I'll go ahead and ask another question. So we're appropriating up to $400,000 for this, even though the estimate is 200 to 250?
Yeah, 200 to 250, yeah.
so, well, I'll go ahead and make my comment on that, because that's what, my understanding, from this interlocal agreement, I mean, I understand that there can be some flex, is that this ultimately becomes a firm fix, like what we're gonna be looking at to draft out of this interlocal agreement is a firm fixed price. We're shooting for 250,000, but not to exceed 400. Is that's my understanding of what
It
this
says.
I mean, right, but I mean, are we going to actually execute a firm fixed price agreement out of this?
I believe there was additional factors to factor in here. There's some paving that needs to be done and some other utilities that might need to be moved, is my understanding.
Okay,
That's what accounts for the higher price.
So then what it says.
400.
But then there's an email that says there's concrete and other utilities that they're saying the county's responsible for on page 8, I believe. Talks about asphalt toward the bottom, it says at the county's expense for material and labor, hire contractors and charge service, contracts and repair asphalt.
What page are you on, Dave?
Page number 8.
8.
That's my understanding, they're asking the county and Mr. Trisbell
To pave it.
to do the paving and the other utilities like Comcast and, but it says 400 up to 400 up here, so I'm not clear which one it is.
Yeah, so I think that's the question is that 400,000 inclusive of the paving? It is inclusive of the paving.
So should the interlocal say 250 then?
Well, or should the interlocal say inclusive of any and all? I'd rather do that.
We don't know how much Comcast is gonna charge, or AT&T, I don't know what all the wires are that are on there. But, we wanted to make sure we were only coming before this committee one time. All of that'll still be bid out, the specs, and if we don't hit 400, that'd be great. You know, we certainly won't spend it on anything else.
I think what he's asking, John, is the interlocal says 400, but it also says they're responsible for the other utilities and the asphalt, so should the interlocal say up to 250, and then the other 150s for the stuff we're responsible? Because the interlocal sale says the county's responsible to pay the utility grid upon some not to exceed 400, shouldn't that be 250?
Or 250.
Well, the interlocal would just be with Gallatin,
For
Department of
250.
Electricity.
I'll make an amendment.
Well, is that correct, or am I misunderstanding?
Yeah, I want to make sure we're not.
Yeah, it's, you know, but I think Department of Electricity wants to make sure that we're moving that pole. So they probably want to make sure that we are committed to working with whatever utilities is on that pole to relocate them as well. And we just don't know what that cost will be right now.
So, I think the thrust of this is that this is, I understood that this was all going into the same interlocal agreement, but I think the thrust of the question is, the interlocal agreement is between us and GDE. And the amount which is relevant between those two parties is 250,000. However, there are additional efforts which may be required, which could cost up to, we're saying 150,000 extra, which is fine, and we can commit to that, but we wouldn't want to commit, that's outside of the purview of the interlocal agreement. I feel like what,
Well, you would, pardon.
no, go ahead, I would just think we.
Well, I would think that your legal team would be able to say that with this much going towards the GDE project, and then specify in that memorandum of understanding that the remaining would go towards movement of other utilities and paving and so forth. But have that dollar specific amount just to GDE. You can put all of that in, in several bullet points. And
I'd maybe like to ask,
I have not seen the memorandum of understanding, so I have no idea what it says.
Where, is there a memorandum of understanding somewhere? Yes, it's in your packet. I see an interlocal agreement, but where's it? No, I mean, this is. Is that what you mean by the?
Yeah.
Okay.
page 4 and 5.
Yeah, I see that.
On page 6 is the email I'm referring to. It talks about 250 for GDE, and then the infrastructure and the asphalt, and there may be some conduits to the county. So it looks like they're saying 250 GDE and 150 for other costs like asphalt and conduits.
Which we would be.
Yeah, we'd be responsible for the asphalt, and usually the way it works with Comcast or somebody like that is you put in the conduit and they pull the wire. I believe that's what they told us at the meeting on Friday, that GDE was gonna pull the wire
Because
at
the
their cost.
way this reads is that we're giving GDE up to 400,000, and then on top of that.
I'm gonna make an amendment to change that to 250.
Okay, should it be 250
That's
or
my
should it be
motion.
252?
250 is what the law says.
250.
Oh,
Page
okay.
6, it says 250.
I was going to page 29.
I don't have a second.
And do you want to put something to say the other 150s to be used for the asphalt and other?
We'd be 2 appropriations, right?
Well, I think what Mr. Isabel's saying, that the utility district's asking the county to commit to the 250 and to commit
Yes.
that we're gonna do the asphalt and move the other
Yeah.
utilities.
So what we would do is we would agree to this, amend it. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think I'm going to agree with this. I think the plan is we would amend this to 250. And then in addition to that, we would appropriate another 150 for the county to execute movement of the utility pole and cover the asphalt repavement. That's the way I kind of understand this. It's the same thing, it just puts everything in the right buckets. Does that make sense?
Is that what you guys agreed to? Is that they-
If I could interject, because I'm getting hit with some facts here that I did not leave Friday's meeting understanding. Phase 1 and on page 8, phase 1 and phase 2, that description of phase 1 and phase 2 was provided by Gallatin Department of Electricity, and that was part of what I used as my reliance on their accuracy about us doing the underground work in that alley. And it specifically says in there, the poles cannot be removed until communication lines have been moved underground by AT&T and Comcast. Once communication companies completed their relocation work, GDE will remove the primary pole in the alley at no cost. So I don't know where we're picking up some of these costs here when it's contrary to my understanding Friday. So I would like to point out an important part of this resolution is the authorized negotiation, because I'm gonna have to get some clear language on this, and then I can break out the 250. My understanding was 250 was going to GDE for the power side of this only.
Yes.
Well, we can do it, then we could do it the other way that I thought about, that I kind of mentioned before, which would be to county responsibility, county will pay the utility a sum of, I still think it's 250,000.
Not to exceed.
Not to exceed 250,000 in consideration of the performance, so this is on paragraph 3. I set forth paragraph 4, and then it would be additionally, county agrees to appropriate up to $150,000 to conduct ancillary services as required to, or ancillary efforts as required to install service per this interlocal agreement. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Including paving.
Yeah, to include paving.
To include
And
paving.
then you're free to do what you need to do. We appropriate the full 400, we would get the full 400,000, but you're only gonna have the 250,000 to deal with GDE, so that they don't say, oh, well, now you got us 400,000. Not that they would do that, but that's the thrust of what we're trying to get at.
Well, the resolution is, if I may, is.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Is not the same as as interlocal agreement. These are two separate.
Correct.
Items. So your resolution already covers it, that $400,000. The appropriation.
That's,
I mean, you're covering the resolution.
that's true.
So this interlocal agreement, I don't know why you even had to say anything about the extra money.
That's
This is
true.
just this is between us and one utility for 250.
That's
It's none of
true.
their business what we do the rest of it.
That's
in my
true.
opinion. I think it's just fair.
That's true.
Because the resolution covers the
That's,
400,000.
you know what, that's true. That's
There's
true.
no
That
extra
makes
work.
sense.
I just say we edit that to 250 and we're
That
done.
makes sense to me, because you do have the resolution. That's a fair point. Mr. Sittler, do you have any issues with that?
Now, if it's the will of the
Just
committee.
change the language on the interlocal agreement on section
Mr.
3 to
Isbell,
say
do you have
250.
any issue with
is
that?
not-
Because you get because his point is that the 400,000 is being appropriated through the resolution, the entirety of it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I know we've kind of, these are all very closely related. I know we've actually spoken to all 3 of them, but I feel like we're kind of on the same page on this. So back to item, oh,
Just
go
a quick
ahead,
question.
sorry.
Who manages this?
I mean, Mr. Klein, I understand that this will be overseen to some degree through general ops.
I will be, just to make sure that things stay within budget, and I'm over there all the time anyway.
Now, well, is there a PM assigned to this, either from do we have anybody?
No. Kim Norfleet.
Mr. Isbell?
This is y'all's baby if y'all want it.
We're talking about the alleyway and conduit, the other conduits outside the agreement.
I'm asking, I'm not telling. Like, is
Now, if
Mr.
y'all want the
Norfleet?
day-to-day operations of it, have at it.
I'm not asking, I'm just saying that, I mean.
No, you're asking and I'm telling.
So you're not,
I mean, it's my understanding we were paying Gallatin Department of Electricity to do the work, or to manage the work. Mark Kimball said in that meeting that that's what they would do.
what about the
I
other
think they have
part?
the experience. Now, as far as negotiating with Comcast and AT&T, if Chairman Klein wants to do that, we'll give him the phone numbers or try to find the phone numbers.
So are they
Well, I
gonna
don't
do?
think he can as an individual.
No, he can't, but
Are they gonna do the
That hadn't
relocation?
stopped things before.
So are they saying they're gonna do the relocation and the other utilities and just want us to reimburse them for the cost? Is that what they're saying? I think what they're asking about, there's like 2 or 3
Yeah.
pieces.
So,
No, and that's why number 3 would be to authorize us to talk to them about that and to iron those details out. We're not gonna iron those details out at this
And
table.
it says county mayor.
That was to
law.
authorize the county mayor and the law director to work on memorandum of understanding. Because Brandon's gonna have to be involved in this as well, the attorney. We're not gonna be able to just hand them something and say, here, take this. They're gonna make sure their bases are covered as well. And it may be fine.
This is a draft.
So, and going to them with a draft is an excellent idea. That's a starting point for discussion.
so I understand you don't want to come back to this table with this again. Will there be any reports to the commission on this progress, or we'll just see
Oh,
it in
sure,
the,
there'll
we'll
be
read
a
it in the
monthly
paper?
report like I give on every project. In Gen Ops, yeah.
Just wondering how it's gonna
Same,
go.
same report that I give you each month.
All right, are we ready to vote on this? Any other discussion on item A? We've talked about all of it, but.
We haven't
just for-
taken a vote on my amendment yet.
Oh, well, but your amendment is for item 3, for item C.
Oh, we're on
Yeah, we're still on item A.
okay,
Yeah, we'll get to you.
never mind.
Yep. Item A only. I'd entertain a motion, well, actually, you had a motion to approve. I seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries, motion passes unanimously. So this appropriation, the second part is appropriation of up to $300,000 for engineering construction of Franklin Street Stormwater Project. This is on page 3. I'd entertain a motion for approval or discussion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second. Okay, any discussion on this one? Do we want to waive the second reading on this?
Yeah, I think we need to.
Okay,
I think we need
I'm
to.
good with that as the second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All righty, motion carries
You
unanimously.
waive A also?
We did, yeah, do we need to waive A?
We didn't waive it.
You waive
Did
B.
not.
Oh, shoot, okay, coming back to A, are you good with?
Yeah, waive
vote
it,
on this?
yeah.
I'm good with that as the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously and is as waived. Item C, Mr.
I move to amend section 3 to say not to exceed
Second.
$250,000.
Motion and a second.
Instead of $400,000.
Any discussion on this? All right, are you with that, or do you waive the second reading if with that amendment?
I don't think you need to wait for this.
I've been sitting
See,
there reading. This is a
here's-
draft or in a local agreement.
If you read number 4,
Oh, that's true,
It
because
says-
we already appropriated the,
if
yeah,
you-
you're right.
But if you
Agreed.
go on and read number 4, it says that they also, and repair asphalt, concrete as shown on the utility design. So the number 4 recaptures some of that stuff they're talking about. Utility will further do whatever works necessary to complete service relocations for overhead.
You talking about phase 2, David?
Well, no, there's the 250 you're talking about paying to the utility district, and then there's the asphalt and the other utilities to make the 150, but if you read on page 4, item number 4 talks about
Says
Their
asphalt.
responsibility.
to repair asphalt and concrete as shown in utilities conduit design.
And if you read the email from the utility district, my understanding is that's something they're asking the county
County
to do,
to-
so if you make that back to 250,
Then we are definitely taking it on.
the question is, it's not clear who's taking on what, so.
I mean, this is part of authorizing this.
So I think you need to it may be the clearest if you just authorize the county mayor and the county attorney to negotiate up to 400,000 with the utility district and use the remainder to fund any, if they don't agree to all the items, use the remainder to fund remaining items for the total project. That way they can adjust it from 250 all the way up to the 4 if the utility.
If they take, so it's 2 parts. The 250 is a starting point, and then should they take on the additional work, they can have up to an additional 150. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's why I think if you leave the 4 in there, it'll allow them to do it, plus your resolution. And that's what Steve pointed out, the resolution says to negotiate on it too.
Yeah, that does give them a little more flexibility. I get that.
Sounds like
You were the maker of the amendment.
So are you recommending that we don't amend this to say 250?
I would say not. I say you need to give them the authority to determine what's included in the 400,000.
Yeah, because
And then use the remainder.
the phase 2 says something
I see.
different than
But if you read the emails, it's saying that they want the county to do the utilities and the asphalt, and they're saying it was like it would be cheaper for us to have.
The two were not consistent, is the point.
Right.
So you
But,
need to give them the power to negotiate.
but we're trying to get, yeah, that's exactly right. We're trying to basically give them the power to negotiate. And so at the end of the day, 250, great, 250. But if you only want to do these things that you outlined in your email, 250. If you want to take on this additional work, we have a little bit more we want to play with.
Then you need to give
That's what he's getting
You
at.
need to give them the authority to use the remainder to do the asphalt and your utilities if the utility district want to do it. Because you got other utilities involved, Comcast and other ones involved too.
Yeah, and we've not even spoken to them about
And
any
so,
of that.
And the email from the utility district I was reading saying that there would be other conduit things involved that they want the county to pay for. Is what I was reading on the email, and they were all involved in
So you had the amendment.
You okay with that?
I'm confused as what
The amendment would.
We would
take-
just
would
leave
limit
it
it to 250.
Right, but the problem with that is that,
We have asphalt, we have other
yes, we would,
utilities.
and
that-
this doesn't give basically the county mayor the ability to negotiate that out into one big package, which may be the best thing for us. You do the 400,000, it gives them some flexibility to be able to negotiate that. Doesn't mean it'll necessarily happen, but at least gives them that option.
it. But you also need to give them the option to use the remainder to do it if they.
Yeah, that's why the 400.
Right.
Yeah, that's why the
That's why the
400 was in the first place. I don't think we'll need it, but
But what I'm saying is interlocal agreement says that he can pay 400,000 to them and then,
Well, that's the thing, that we put it in there, we're gonna find a way to, I mean,
yeah, we should not be giving GDE $400,000.
well, I mean, I don't know that we're necessarily doing that, we're giving them the flexibility to try
to negotiate.
to negotiate
Yeah,
up
if
to
this
a
is,
certain amount.
yeah, if the mayor and Eric are going to negotiate this, I trust them to.
Especially, I mean, you're gonna have, they're gonna
Yeah,
still.
they'll be calling me.
Your
so.
original resolution says it appropriates up to 400,000 for relocations and allow them to enter an interlocal agreement. It doesn't say they have to use the whole 400 through the interlocal agreement. So if they have leftovers, they could directly appropriate it and do the asphalt themselves, I do believe. The way I'm reading it was, if you read the
That's the
resolution.
question, is it cheaper for the highway department to do it
Yes.
versus them? And
Yeah.
We don't know.
But I think if you give them the power to negotiate, you can.
That's his right, I think I'm with, so it would be so do you wanna vote on your amendment, or do you wanna, given that, I'll probably be against your amendment, but.
I mean, I'm fine withdrawing it from,
All right.
but this doesn't not come back to this committee once
No.
the commission, we're done.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Don't screw it up.
I just want to be very clear, because it just says the ability to execute an interlocal agreement. It doesn't say anything about negotiate.
Caption does.
Yeah, if you look,
Where are you at? Where are you
I'm reading the resolution.
yeah,
at? Oh, okay, never,
Yeah,
my
it does.
bad, my bad.
It does.
yeah.
I was going off the heading.
Gotta read the whole thing.
Yeah.
All right. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
So.
Motion to adjourn.
400.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.